Welcome to DFS Karma, where we talk about our favorite fantasy sports plays for football, basketball, baseball, and pretty much everything else. Be sure to check out and create an account with all of our partners, such as MonkeyKnifeFight.online, PrizePicks.online, and StatHero.online. Use the promo code KARMA on any of these sites to get an exclusive deposit bonus. And don't forget to check out all of our free fantasy content on DFSKarma.com, as well as our own premium plays. Without further ado, let's get the show on the road. Please welcome today's hosts.
What's up, everybody? Welcome into the Week 6 edition of the Game Theory Thursday podcast. I'm your host, Ben Hustler. I'm joined by Sam and Bales this week. Thankfully, I'm not on my porch from my phone this week. I actually have my computer working, so we got the normal stream back. No Anthony, thank God, because we would have been talking about the Browns forever if he was on here. So it's a good thing that he's not. But we have a pretty interesting slate. We did get this news about the Falcons and this COVID situation this morning, but I think that game might be good because it initially came out, it was 4 players, and then it got changed to 1 personnel member and no players, which is obviously much better than 4 players. And the line hasn't been pulled, so I think that game should be good as of right now. But obviously, if you're watching this, be sure just to stay up to date with the news as the weekend goes on. Be sure to check out all of our free content at dfskarma.com. I know Bales has 2 articles up already. Sam's projections are up, which you can access on the site. He also does an ownership report that comes out on Friday that kind of goes over where the ownership's going and then his pivots off of it. And then my articles will be up tomorrow per usual. So we're going to get right into this slate. First game we're going to talk about is the Packers and Bucks. So this game opened at 51.5. It is all the way up to 56, which is insane. I can't remember. I'm sure it's happened, but I can't remember, at least recently, a game jumping that many points this quickly in the week. I mean, we're only on Thursday, and it's up almost 5 points. So obviously a lot of points expected to be scored here. Sam, I'll start with you. I know Anthony really likes this game from talking to him a couple times, like in Discord and just throughout the week. So tell me how you're attacking this game.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting one in that, you know, Aaron Rodgers is looking like a stud, like he always does. Tampa Bay defense, I was wrong in that I thought their run D would just be really good. Their pass D is pretty solid as well. I mean, it's a little more volatile in their run game, but I don't know. It's a weird one where both teams, I think, have the ability to score pretty well, assuming they're healthy. I don't know if you guys do jump in, but I don't know. Is Godwin going to play? Is he out again? I have no idea.
Yeah, Evans and Godwin both limited practice today. I think they might both play, which is, I thought one of them was going to be out. So if they both play, that's definitely helpful for Tampa Bay.
Yeah, because, I mean, Jair Alexander looked pretty solid the last couple of weeks, and I don't know if he can shut down the likes of Mike Evans and Chris Godwin completely, but definitely can limit them. And it kind of shows when you kind of look at DVOA and points against on DraftKings or FanDuel. I mean, Tampa Bay and Green Bay kind of cover the wide receiver ones really well and not the wide receiver two. So I kind of have interest. Obviously, Devontae Adams is matchup proof, but I kind of have almost, if I'm stacking this game in MVS, I mean, Lazard is still out. Adams playing back obviously hurts him just because he commands so many targets, but Valdez-Scantling runs I think he runs around 81% of his snaps. He's averaging like over 6 targets a game and has 10 red zone targets through the first couple games. So I think he's pretty viable. On the other side of the ball, obviously I like Brady. Everyone knows that. I don't think I'll play him here. I think he's looked just fine, and I think he can play his pass catchers. But the guy I have the most interest on that side of the ball is probably Ronald Jones. Obviously it hurts a little bit if Fournette's completely healthy and if Green Bay gets such a tremendous lead, but Ronald Jones has looked pretty solid, and Green Bay has been kind of crushed by running backs thus far. So that's kind of how I would play it. But I think that despite a good defense, you know, all of the studs on Green Bay are pretty playable. What do you think, Bales?
Yeah, for me, it's the big 3, Aaron Rodgers, Aaron Jones, Devontae Adams. I do think that Valdez-Scantling makes a lot of sense if you want to just take a one-off in tournaments. I'm going against Robert Tonyan. You know, you just can't pay his price tag. He's too expensive. I know Ben feels the same way. It's more or less, it's all concentrated to Aaron Jones and Devontae Adams in the offense, and then you have the deep threat in Valdez-Scantling. So you know that's more or less where they're going to go, and not that Tonyan can't play well. It's just he's not going to have nearly as many targets, and I mean, teams aren't going to focus on him, but it's not like he's a hidden guy anymore where people are just going to completely lose track of him. On the other side, I more or less agree with Sam. I think the guy that I'm interested in is Cameron Brate. In the first 4 weeks with OJ Howard healthy, he played on a total of 11 passing plays. Last week in his first one without OJ Howard, he played 22. So he doubled his total from the first 4 weeks in 1 week. It's more or less, he just kind of took over that role. I know Gronk's a little bit more involved, but 3,500 is a little too cheap for Brate, especially if he's going to see any targets in the end zone. So I feel like most likely I'm just going Brate. I do think that Ronald Jones is fine in tournaments, and obviously Mike Evans and Chris Godwin are always guys that you can consider. Neither one are going to be making my cash pool though.
Yeah, like you guys covered it pretty well. The Packers are so easy to attack for fantasy because you pretty much know where the ball's going to go. So that's obviously a fine move. Jones, Adams, both. I think that I don't know if Jones will make my cash pool. Adams will be in my cash pool, depending on if I have the money to get to him. But like both for tournaments, I really like Chris Godwin. He's going to be in the slot, which is obviously positive. More so than going on the outside against Green Bay, and he's cheap, just over 6K. People will avoid him because of his injury situation, and people just don't play guys that have been hurt. But if he's healthy enough to go, I'll be willing to bet on him in a game that's expected to score 56 points. So I like Godwin a lot out of the Bucs guys. Not that I don't like Evans, but Godwin's a little bit cheaper, so I would prefer him. But obviously just a good game stack game. I'll probably not have as much Ronald Jones if Fournette is in, but I do understand why you would like him. And he's a good bit cheaper than some of the other running backs that we're going to be targeting. So he could be a pivot off of someone like David Montgomery, who I do expect is going to get pretty heavy ownership this weekend. The next game we're going to talk about is the Falcons and the Vikings. So this game opened up at 56.5. It's down a couple points. It's like 54. Still a lot of points coming here. The big news here would be rather whether or not Dalvin Cook plays. So, Sam, I'm going to ask you this, and then I'll let Bales talk. But if Dalvin Cook I'm assuming he's going to be out because they have a bye week, which people have pointed out, it would make sense for him to sit out this game. Then they have the bye week, and then he can come back after the 2 weeks off. But if he were to be active in this game, that would change a lot of things because Alexander Mattison is projecting to be one of the highest owned running backs on the slate. What are you going to do with Dalvin should he be active on Sunday, Sam?
If Dalvin were to play, I would probably just avoid both. I just don't. I mean, I think if one of them plays, they're kind of in a smash spot against Atlanta, can't stop anybody. But I would probably avoid both and just only play Thielen. But I see a pretty low chance that Dalvin's going to play. Right?
Yeah, I don't think he's going to play. Bales, who are you attacking in this game?
Yeah, I mean, you talked Madison. If Dalvin's out, Madison's chalk. It's just such an easy play. I have no real problems with Kirk Cousins. He's kind of expensive for what he's been doing. This is his highest price tag, and he's yet to top 22 fantasy points. It's not been great for him. But obviously, this is just an absolute elite matchup. Adam Thielen is one of my top options on the entire slate. I wrote him up in my article, and he's going to be chalky, but I'm going to be overweight to him. There's no reason that I believe I'm going to be underweight to the field on Adam Thielen. I have no issues with Justin Jefferson on that side too. He's looked really good. If I'm choosing one though, I'm going to pay up for Thielen. I have no clue what to make of Julio Jones. He didn't practice again. And part of me thinks like there's no way, even if he plays, that I'm going to consider using him. But then he's only 6,700. I mean, it's against Minnesota, who can't guard anyone. I just worry about you play Julio, and then what happens in the first quarter when he just tweaks it again and he's out for the game. So I really like Calvin Ridley. I think he's in a really good spot. Truthfully, I don't know at this point. I'm probably not going to decide until Sunday morning on whether I would be willing to play Jones. And that's assuming he plays. He didn't practice again today, but like, why would they risk Julio re-injuring it in practice? So I don't expect him to do anything more than like a limited basis prior to the game anyway, just because of who he is. I don't know if one of you two has a very hard stand on him, but for me, it's probably going to come Sunday morning.
Yeah, Bales, then Sam. If Julio's out, Adams or Ridley. So Bales first, then Sam. Adams or Ridley if Julio's out.
Probably Ridley, just because that's so tough. I think Ridley just because of the game. The pace is going to be there, and we know that Minnesota's corners are really bad. Not that Adams is matchup proof. He's going to dominate anyone because he gets the volume. But they're throwing a lot to Aaron Jones in the red zone too, whereas you more or less know that Ridley's probably going to get a lot of the red zone work. I slightly in Ridley, but I'm not going to try to talk you off of Adams.
Sam?
Yeah, I totally agree. Ridley has like 150 more air yards than anyone else in the league right now. Granted, like Adams hasn't played all the games, so that could have been different. But yeah, it's weird. I actually would prefer Ridley. Like, I like Ridley a lot anyway. I could see playing him in cash, honestly, and I will probably be able to win tournaments. But I think actually the spot is better for Ridley if Julio plays and, like, honestly, if he's limited, because it just takes just a little bit of focus off of him. It's weird that I feel like Ridley, he sees so many targets, but in games without Ridley or without Julio compared to games with, it's pretty variant. So yeah, I don't know. I think Ridley is still in such a smash spot. He gets like 9 targets a game. The Falcons are terrible. I'll once again get burned by Matt Ryan for like the nth week in a row. But yeah, I think Ridley, Thielen are number 1, number 2 in air yards. It's crazy. Thielen has, as a percentage of team targets, the highest in the league. So he's an elite play. I think the one guy who's not lived up, who I'm kind of gonna go back to again, is Hayden Hurst. Hayden Hurst, if you look at like percent of snaps where they ran a route for all tight ends, he's number 1, which I think I wrote it down. Yeah, he's run like 83 on 83% of his snaps. He's run a route, and he sees like 5 targets a game. He's seeing red zone targets. He just hasn't really produced like in a smash game at all. But like Bales alluded to, the Minnesota defense is terrible. The only thing I worry about in a stack like this is similar to what happened to Russ, where like the Vikings just play so slow and run so much clock that they just might not see the ball that much. But I will say I expect Atlanta to either be maybe competitive or trailing, and it should cause them to throw and see a lot of targets going towards Ridley and others. But I don't know. I wanted to know, are you guys buying back into Todd Gurley? Because I am not. I still think he sucks.
Yeah, no, I'm not playing any Todd Gurley.
Nah, that's the Carolina matchup talking.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just a weird one. I feel like he's scored now multiple weeks. Last week he had 2 touchdowns, and I don't know. Would you guys game stack this or not really? You think it just there's not enough points to be I think it's viable. I would probably choose Ryan over Kirk if I was going to stack this game.
I'm fine stacking it. I'm good. Honestly, I'm good with either side, and I think you can do a bigger stack of more or less like Kirk Cousins, Alexander Mattison, Adam Thielen, and then bring it back with both Julio and Ridley, or Ridley and Hurst, or just something like that where you legit stack the entire game instead of just a one stack and bringing it back. I'm fine with like going really hard at this game.
Yeah, I like the other game. I like Packers Bucks more for a game stack, I think, than I do this game. But I like the individual pieces in this game. Sam, I agree with what you said. I think if Julio's in, I'm really gonna be interested in Calvin Ridley. If he's out, the one thing that's giving me pause is the Vikings. So I don't know if you guys remember, the Texans played the Vikings 2 weeks ago, and they completely took Brandon Cooks away. Like, they just schemed him out of the game. So if Julio's out, I think that's something they could attempt to do to Calvin Ridley. Like, obviously, Calvin Ridley is better than Brandon Cooks in a vacuum, but they did have the ability to completely scheme him out of the game. So if Julio's not there to draw that attention away, I would be somewhat worried that they just really put all the pressure on Ridley, and then they make Zacchaeus and Russell Gage and those guys beat him.
I think if you're dumb enough to scheme Brandon Cooks out of a game, I don't care.
Yeah, I mean it's not the fact that it was Brandon Cooks. It's just the fact that they literally eliminated someone from the game. Like he literally didn't catch a ball.
Yeah, I don't. That doesn't bother me, honestly.
Yeah.
You looked at you looked at other receivers. Look at what Devontae Adams week 1 did against them. Like if they were willing to scheme Brandon Cooks out of a game, you think they would at least try to scheme Devontae Adams out, no? Or at least try to limit him. And he posted what like one of the most ridiculous lines of the entire season against them, and I believe he dropped a touchdown, didn't he?
Yeah. He could have been. Yeah,
it would have been a 3 touchdown game, but like I feel Calvin Ridley is much closer to Devontae Adams than he is Brandon Cooks.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that, but it's just like I mean Ridley didn't do anything in that last game. Ridley did nothing in the first half of that last game. It all came in garbage time in the second half. I was actually worried for a little bit because I played him in cash. He was like 4% owned, and he had like 2 catches.
Yeah, he racked up like.
Yeah, he had like 2 for 28 at halftime.
100 yards. Yeah, it's so fun.
Yeah, but do we think that like Atlanta's going to be throwing anyway? So I get the concern, but also I don't think it matters that much because he just wasn't seeing the targets because he ended with
I'm speaking from
10 targets and 8 catches.
I'm speaking from a cash game perspective on like this thing, but for tournaments, I wouldn't worry about it regardless. I don't think.
My problem with Ridley for cash is that he's literally sandwiched between Devontae Adams and Adam Thielen.
Yeah,
and like, I know most probably don't want
Thielen. I think Thielen's a great play, but Bales, what if I told you Justin Jefferson's $5,900 on FanDuel?
I'll tell you, give me Thielen.
You would play Thielen over $5,900 Justin Jefferson?
Yeah, well, I don't even think it's that close. I think one is going to get the targets, going to get the air yards, going to get the red zone looks. I think the other is good and relies on a couple deep catches.
I mean, Ben, would you rather play Ridley or Thielen in cash? I think it's Thielen all day.
Yeah, it's. I think Thielen's a little bit safer, and he's cheaper, which is big. I like a little bit cheaper, but yeah, it's a great game.
Yeah,
it's a great game. The next game we're talking about is the Lions and Jags. 54 over under. This one's up a couple points from open. I think this is a really interesting game. I like both sides of this game. I think the Lions stack is definitely in play in all formats. You have Stafford. So Stafford splits, like people were worried about Stafford's first couple games, but his splits without Kenny Galladay are drastic. Like he averages almost 300 passing yards per game with Galladay in the lineup, and it drops significantly with him out of the lineup. So I'm not super worried about it now that Galladay's back. Galladay's cheap, so the stack makes sense. We got some big injury news on the Jags side with Chark missing practice on Thursday, so that would really bump up Chenault, I think, at least in my pool. And they have some of those other like supplementary guys as well. I think James Robinson may get some ownership just with how bad the Lions' run defense has been. So I think it's a great game overall, Bills. I'll start with you first here.
Yeah, I wrote up Stafford. I think he's in a really good spot. The Jacksonville's defense is nothing that's going to scare me away. Top option without question. I don't even think anyone is close as Kenny Galladay to pair with him. I think your second options are either Marvin Jones or TJ Hawkinson. Truthfully, I'm fine with either. Marvin Jones saw 2 targets last game against the Saints, but Detroit wasn't really throwing the ball a ton, so I don't really worry that much. And we have yet to see the Marvin Jones that goes up and grabs 4 touchdowns in a game. So the upside's always there for it. On the other side, I mean, I don't know why you're not playing James Robinson. Even if he gets schemed out of the game, I guess from a game script, not really schemed out, but from a game script standpoint, he's just heavily involved in the passing game. He had 7 targets last week. I mean, there's not much that Detroit's going to be able to do to take him out. And then, like you said, if Chark is out, I think Chenault makes a really good play. I think you can take your shot on like Keelan Cole too. But I feel like for Jacksonville, James Robinson is like head and shoulders above more or less anyone on the team right now. For fantasy, I think DJ Chark's obviously their best offensive player. I don't want anyone to get that confused.
Yeah, Sam, I know you love Stafford. You playing him this week?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, staph infection is. I mean, this game is. I mean, I'll probably blow up my face. I mean, this should be one of the higher scoring games I think of the entire slate. Not like as Vegas, but I mean, these teams are both top 10 in pace. Jacksonville's dead last in DVOA against the pass, and I'm pretty sure the Lions are third to last. I mean, they just don't stop anybody, and not to mention the Jags are all hurt. So I agree with everything Bales said. With regards, I think Gardner Minshew is totally playable. I mean, he's like definitely better than you would think just based on his name, and he also runs. So, I mean, I prefer Stafford, but Gardner's definitely in play. I think it definitely is a bump down if Chark is out for him, because then I guess I don't know. I mean, should I be playing Keelan Cole now? Like, is he now resurrected and like he's now alive? Like, I feel like Keelan Cole has been like way more involved. Last week I thought Chark caught a touchdown. I was hyped, and then it was like, of course, Keelan Cole in the back. So I don't know what that was about, but yeah, I mean, I think it's stackable on both sides. I mean, I think it's tougher. I mean, would you guys just play like Staff, Galladay, maybe Hawkinson, and then run it back with both James Robinson and Chenault? Or would you just pick one? Because I don't know. It's tough because the Lions running back game is the most frustrating in all the league. DeAndre Swift should be freed, but he's not. So I don't know. I mean, I think it's an interesting one. And I think if Stafford can, like, if the game stays close, I think Stafford can absolutely is in a blow up spot as long as it doesn't get out of hand, because they both play so fast.
Yeah, I agree. I think this might be the best game in terms of stackability, honestly, that we've talked about, because you do have the effect that the Bucks D is really good when you're talking about that first game. And the quarterbacks, I mean, the quarterbacks do worry me in that other game. Like, I know the Falcons give up the most fantasy points to quarterbacks, and it's not even close, but Kirk hasn't flashed a ceiling at all with how their offense has been running. And Ryan, we've obviously seen him struggle the last couple weeks. So this might actually be the best game in terms of stackability. Minshew does have a little upside with his legs, but I agree. This could be the spot that we've been waiting for from Stafford all season. Bills, you have anything else to add? I mean, I think this might be my favorite game on the slate by the time the weekend comes.
No, I think it's a really good game. I have no problem stacking either side, really. I think you just kind of need to wait for the Chark news, because that's really going to play a major role in what you do.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, I agree. The last game we're going to talk about, then we'll head over to some positional talk, is the Houston Texans and Tennessee Titans. About a 54 over under right now. So this game is giving me some concerns, and it's mainly just because I know they blew out the Bills, but the Titans, if we talk about short weeks, the Titans played on Tuesday night, and then now they got to play on Sunday, right? This is kind of uncharted territory. We haven't seen this or dealt with it. So it could be a little bit of a letdown spot for the Titans after that big win. Watson, finally got back on track in their last game. They finally got a win. So I know Josh Allen struggled against this Titans defense on Tuesday night, but I do like the Watson stack here. I think you can use Cooks or Fuller with him. And then on the Titan side, it's super, like, this is a very similar situation that like we get with the Packers, that you have Tannehill and then you have Derrick Henry. And if Corey Davis, I haven't heard anything on Corey Davis playing this week yet. So if he's out again, you have A.J. Brown. Humphreys will be back, so he'll play in the slot. But A.J. Brown looked as good as he did last year. Looks like he's fully healthy. I think that time off really helped him. So you have a really concentrated offense with Henry, A.J. Brown, and then obviously Tannehill. So I think it's a good spot for the Titans, but I do expect the Texans to put some points up on them after the short week there.
Go ahead, Sam.
Yeah, I mean, I get the Houston stack. I do. I mean, Deshaun is so good, and they've had a brutal schedule, and I'm fine with that. I'm hoping that maybe it's kind of two things. Like, number one, people just saw them on national TV look really good in the Titans, but also they are on a short week. So maybe, I don't know how ownership's going to fall out. I'll talk about that in my article coming out on Friday. But Tannehill, I'll be honest, I might prefer him in cash to what's going to be a chalky Fitzpatrick. I mean, Tannehill is clearly apparently can run and almost tore his ACL on a celebration, but he's like 6th in points for dropback, and he has A.J. Brown, who that's like the biggest misprice of the week probably is A.J. Brown. I don't know why he's 5,600 on DraftKings, but he, like Ben said, looked great. He saw a ton of – I think he saw – how many targets he saw last game? I think he saw at least 8 or something like that, maybe more. But I also like, and I would play him in cash too, is Jonnu Smith. I mean, Jonnu Smith doesn't get as much volume as someone like A.J. Brown or Derrick Henry, but in terms of percentage of targets, he's second in the league for tight ends by Mark Andrews. He's second in targets per route run, and he has 7 red zone targets and 6.5 targets per game. So I like a stack with Tannehill, A.J. Brown, and Jonnu Smith. Derrick Henry, I mean, again, he might carry the ball 100 times this game, and I get it, but I would actually much rather attack the passing side because obviously Houston's run D sucks, but I expect Houston to be competitive in this game, and they won't just be able to run. I mean, the Titans won't have a huge lead like they got against the Bills, and then he'll be able to run all over it. So I like both sides of this game, but I think I actually might prefer the Titan side compared to Houston. And they both play really fast. I forgot to mention that. They're both like top 7 in pace of play. So I think it's a great stack.
Yeah, Bales, I don't want to cut you off, but speaking of you talking about Tannehill, so I don't know if you guys saw this tweet, but last 14 starts, Tannehill has like 60 less passing yards than Mahomes in their last 14 starts. He has a higher QB rating and more touchdown passes. Like, it's just insane.
He's legit good.
Yeah, it's such a goat.
But you can go ahead, Bills.
Yeah, I mean, I'll keep it really simple because you guys covered a lot. For Tennessee, Ryan Tannehill, Derrick Henry, A.J. Brown, Jonnu Smith, I am fine with literally any of the 4. For Houston, it'll be Deshaun Watson with Brandon Cooks and Will Fuller. That's the stack that I would run if I'm on Houston. I don't think that much more needs to be said that hasn't already, though.
Yeah, I like Henry more than Sam in this spot. I feel like Sam's just not a Henry guy, though. Is this correct?
Not at all.
Sounds
I mean,
right.
I get his volume is good. That stiff arm was badass, but like, I'm sorry, like maybe I'm just like wrong, but like he looked slow on Tuesday.
So the Texans allow the 4th most DraftKings points to running backs this year. He got going in the touchdown department, the last couple games. But
I'll personally take basically any running back against Houston. And Derrick Henry is one of the best in the league. So I'm in.
Even if we think that the Titans play bad because of that, the short week, like home favorite Derrick Henry will always be in my pool. I know he doesn't have the pass catching upside, which hurts him in cash games for me. But for tournaments, like I'll probably be overweight to him in tournaments because I probably won't play him in cash.
I will say, not that he wasn't already the bell cow, but I did see that Darrington Evans isn't on the IR, so I don't really know who else is going to be run. I mean, he might play.
McNichols is playing a lot.
Is he? Yeah, I don't know if he was going to see even more snaps than he already does, which is already a predominant amount. But yeah, I mean, like Ben said, that's my only thing is, I mean, again, he might get 30 carries, and that's like enough. I mean, you always want touches with running backs, but yeah, he doesn't see any targets. So it kind of definitely a lot of his upside, in my opinion. But like at least it's a stealing. What's a plane fall?
Yeah, someone's getting landed on by a plane.
Yeah, my bad, guys. There's a plane around here.
That's great. But yeah, so if you guys are watching on YouTube, before we head to this positional talk, you'll notice that Bales and I are now both sitting in complete darkness as the sun has just went down. Sam looks great with this perfect light, but the sun has gone away for Bales and I both. We are now, and I'm like dude, I'm like pitch black. It looks so funny on the camera, but. All right, we're going to talk – we'll go cash games first and then tournaments. Quarterbacks, I'll go me, Bales, and Sam. For me, I like Stafford, Fitzmagic, who we didn't get to talk about. I do think Fitzmagic is going to be – he might pick up some steam as the week goes on, but I think him, Tannehill, and Stafford are the 3 for me right now. Bales, do you have any disagreements there?
No, that's more or less who I'm looking at.
Yeah, agreed.
All right. Running backs for cash games again. So we've had this the last couple weeks where it's like 3 guys I know I'm playing. I think that if Cook's out, I think Madison and Mike Davis are both locks for me. I know Mike Davis has a tougher matchup against Chicago, but if they're going to use him like they do McCaffrey and you're getting him at 7K instead of 10K, it's just tough for me not to play him, especially on DK, obviously full point PPR. So I think those guys are locks. I think David Montgomery surprisingly is a good play. Now it looks like confirmed Le'Veon Bell is not going to sign with Chicago. so we don't have to worry about that. He's been much more involved in the passing game. Obviously, the Panthers are one of the worst teams against the run per usual, so I think he's in play. So do you guys have? I'll ask you guys, Bills. I'll start with you. Is there anyone you would add to those three for cash? Because I think you could make a case for Kareem Hunt if you wanted. I think you could make a case for Derrick Henry if you wanted. I don't know if there's anyone else that I could for
Yeah.
cash, anyways.
Derrick Henry's the one that I would strongly add, and then I would honestly, I'm probably just going to end up playing 3 of those 4, but I think you can make a case for James Robinson. My only problem is like I doubt I'm going to play him over Derrick Henry. He's only 500 cheaper. I just think I don't think it's the worst idea in the world.
Yeah, Sam.
I mean, dude. I mean, this is my brand. I mean, Myles Gaskin, 5,400.
Oh, I knew. Yeah, I forgot you were gonna do this. I knew this.
I'm not saying if we're comparing them like, expected points like that. Obviously, he's significantly lower than someone like Mike Davis or Alexander Madison and everything. But he is so cheap against the Jets. I mean,
yeah, he actually is due for like some positive touchdown regression, so I somewhat understand this play, but I just think it would be better for tournaments than cash.
Yep, I agree. I just don't think you have to save the money there for cash, which is the problem.
Yeah. Wide receiver for cash. I think Devontae will be in my pool. Don't know if I'm going to end up playing him. Thielen certainly is in my pool. In terms of like the 6K guys, I know Anthony likes Juju a lot, and I completely get that. Man, I don't know. Juju is interesting to me, but Galladay at 62 on DK I think is a really good play, especially if I end up playing Stafford. And then A.J. Brown, like Sam alluded to, is like a lock of all locks on DraftKings at his price tag. Bales, I'll start with you. Do you have anyone else you want to add? I'm curious to see if you guys have any like cheaper guys that you want to add to the pool here.
Honestly, not really. I think the cheapest that I would be willing to go in cash, I don't honestly want to say it, but Brandon Cooks, if like I have to, I can almost guarantee you guys I'm not going to have to, so I'm not really going to play him there. I don't think.
Yeah, we talked about this pre-pod. I think Darnell Mooney is the stone min. I mean, he do a lot. He opens up a lot of things.
Stone min.
I don't know if I'll get there, even though I'm like a Patriots home. But like N'Keal Harry at 4,500, if Cam plays, is like, I don't know, he's decent amount of volume. I don't think that's. I mean, if you want to like really pay up for like quarterback, all your running backs, I think there's way worse plays than that. He still sees a decent amount of targets per game when Cam plays, so I think that's a fine one.
Yeah, we should mention Jeff Smith real quick just because he saw 11 targets last week. He's also 3K on DraftKings, which I do think is interesting. And then tight ends, man, I don't know. I think Irv Smith is going to be really chalky on DraftKings at 2,500. I think that's a fish play in cash, to be honest with you both. So I probably will be avoiding that. I like Trey Burton for cheap. I know Bales mentioned Brait. Obviously, he's cheap. And then I like Eric Ebron. Ebron went up 100, but 4,100 against the Browns. I would love to get a piece of that game. Well, not really that game. I would love to get a piece of the Steelers passing game. And if I don't have Juju, I think Ebron might be the way to do that for me.
I agree. Those are 3 that I'm looking at.
Sam, you want to spend up? Because last week, like Kittle randomly like became chalk as the week went on.
I just did not. Yeah, I didn't. My 3, honestly, I'm in more kind of the pep. I definitely will not. I agree with Ben. I'm not playing Irv Smith. I like Jonnu. I like Ebron. Also, I don't mind Evan Ingram in cash. I know the Giants are what they are, but I mean, Evan Ingram has to. I mean, he's still under 5K, and Washington doesn't cover tight ends very well. They get up like 18 points a game to tight ends, which is the 5th most. So I don't mind Ingram. I mean, Daniel Jones is going to turn the ball over, but that doesn't for sake. So.
That is true. I think he loses fumbles at like a remarkable rate. I don't have like the stat, but I swear it's every week, man. He like loses fumbles. It's crazy.
You would think he's like a backup coming in to like take one snap while his quarterback got hurt and like has like the jitters, but no, he just like loves to fumble the ball.
Yeah, it's crazy. Tournaments for me, quarterback. I'm going to keep going back to Lamar until he has a big game. I know like he just hasn't had that ceiling this season, but 7,700, the price is starting to get in that sweet spot, man. When he has that big game, he's going to destroy his price tag. I like Ben Roethlisberger at home against the Browns. And the other one, I guess Kirk, like if we're not going to have any interest in Kirk Cousins in cash, I know
No,
he hasn't had the ceiling, but
no.
I will always consider a quarterback against the Falcons at this point, given their current state of defense. Bills?
Yeah, I think for tournaments, it's likely going to come down to like I really like Stafford. I like Kirk Cousins, Ryan Fitzpatrick. I actually have no problems with Cam Newton. Right now, it
Yes.
seems like the ownership's kind of spread out a little bit. It's going to move towards one or two guys later in the week. Whichever one of the four guys I just said is going to project for lower ownership, that's probably just where I'm going to go.
Sam?
Yeah. I mean, I like Cam, like Bill said. I mean, again, I won't go Rodgers in cash because that's just expensive, but I like him in tournaments. And then the last one, I mean, I don't know. I'll once again get killed by Matt Ryan. Like you said with Kirk, I mean, at some point, Matt Ryan's going to have a good game. Like, you have to think. I mean, I can't miss it when he finally hits value for the first time all season. So I'll be right back there. God, he's so bad.
Running backs, for me, really like Henry in tournaments, really like Kareem Hunt in tournaments. And then Robinson, if I don't consider him in cash, I'll have to have some Robinson in tournaments. Not a ton of cheap guys. I guess Gaskin is like the cheap guy. I don't know. There's really no one like super cheap that I like this week at running back.
I agree. Gaskin is a really, really good play, I think, at 5,400. Also say Jonathan Taylor. Man, it feels like I go back to him literally every single week, but the Bengals are allowing the highest yards before contact on the entire slate. It's like, I think it's over 2.5 yards per carry. So if Taylor's not going to have to break tackles, he's going to have a good game because for whatever reason, he just can't break tackles in the NFL. It doesn't make any sense to me. And everyone's kind of soured on him at this point, but I think we can all still agree that the talent's there. And at some point in time, he's going to put it together. He just needs the volume, which, I mean, he could get in the specific game. And then one more person I'll say is Aaron Jones. He's just always so expensive, so he never gets a ton of ownership. So Aaron Jones, I'm 100% fine with just because of his role in the red zone.
Yeah, I agree. Dude, you can never fade Aaron Jones, man. You really can't.
I can't believe Bales threw out Jonathan Taylor. That was mine. I did not think either of you were going to say Jonathan Taylor.
Oh,
dude, the
brand.
brand
read my
needs,
article.
The brand needs a Jonathan Taylor game, man. I need a big game from him, please.
The two guys I'll add is I like Ronald Jones, hoping the game script doesn't get out of control, and then I always like playing Antonio Gibson. He's so good. He's so involved in that offense, and I think they said Kyle Allen's playing again, which is. I don't know why, but he likes to check it down. I think this is a game. I think one of the first games where Washington shouldn't be getting this blown out. So I think.
Yeah, so Gibson, I think, missed some practice time. I'll have to look into that. We didn't talk about that game, so I wasn't prepped on it before the show. But if he were to miss, do you guys like a little J.D. McKissick in tournaments?
Yeah,
I
sure.
probably wouldn't. Yeah. If he misses.
Yeah, we'll have to see. I don't even know what his injury was because we didn't talk about that game. I haven't written that game up yet, so we'll see on that. Wide receivers, tournaments, I like Justin Jefferson in tournaments. I like Chris Godwin. Obviously, I was all over Chenault last week. If Chark's out, he will be in my main tournament lineup if I can't play him in cash. And then I like the fish play of the week last week, Zacchaeus, going back to him this week. I mean, he was on the field. He just didn't do anything. So I'm always fine going to those guys that are massive chalk and then let down. So I like Zacchaeus a little bit in tournaments.
Yeah, I got some takes. Go ahead, Bills.
Oh,
I steal my.
Oh boy.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. I have no problems. I'll stick to two players in the same game. Devontae Parker. If I'm not going to play him in cash, I will play him in tournaments. He's a really good spot. And on the other side, Jamison Crowder. I feel like no one's talking about the fact that he's literally one of the best receivers in the NFL this year. And we know that Flacco's going to throw him the ball, so it doesn't really matter if you don't actually think Crowder's that good. He's going to see 10 plus targets, and he's really efficient.
Yeah, dude. I mean, he's averaging 10 targets a game. Like, that's absurd. Like, he literally. Yeah, I like that Crowder play a lot. The guys I like T. Higgins. With the fact that AJ Green is dust and hurt, I think T. Higgins is clearly kind of solidified as like a pretty decent part of that offense. Ben, I should actually mention, because you like Lamar every week. I mean, Marquise Brown has to just explode at some point. I mean, if not now, when?
Yeah, I played him in cash on FanDuel last week. He had a good game, like 17 FanDuel points, I think, around that. Yeah, if I'm stacking Lamar, you know who you stack him with, and it's him and Andrews. So.
Yeah, and then my last guys, I don't know. I kind of like. He would seem to be having a down season, but I kind of like Jarvis Landry. The Steelers D is obviously really legit. I just could see. I mean, Odell's pretty matchup proof, but I could see stronger coverage going to Odell, and Jarvis, I mean, is still getting some decent targets per game. And I think if I expect Cleveland to be trailing, and if Odell's kind of getting either shadowed or kind of double teamed or something like that, I think Landry could have a pretty high target game, and maybe just, especially on DK with full PPR, I think you could see a decent amount of value. And he's under 5,000. So.
Yeah, we didn't talk about that game, but Odell was sent home today with an illness from practice.
Yep.
So I don't know. I guess if there was some weird thing where he missed it, that would really bump Landry up. But I'm glad you mentioned T. Higgins, because I actually think Higgins and T.Y. Hilton in that game are probably cash playable. I wouldn't play them over A.J. Brown, obviously, but I do think they're both cash playable. Who do you prefer of those two? Sam, I'll start with you. Higgins or Hilton? Which one?
Yeah, I probably prefer Higgins just because I think Rivers is just
I think Higgins is better, but Hilton obviously is a better matchup. Bales, which one do you like?
Well, I mean, yeah, go ahead, Bales.
I'd say I slightly prefer Hilton, I guess. Just I feel like his targets are more surefire.
Yep, and we'll finish up with tight end. Mark Andrews and Mike Gesicki are my two. I actually think Gesicki's cash playable on FanDuel. He's really cheap there, under 6K. But for DraftKings specifically, I like Andrews and Gesicki. Bales?
Honestly, it's probably just I'm probably going to end up choosing between Brate, Burton, and
Bales
Ebron.
has put his entire faith into Cam Brate this week. It's crazy.
Cameron Brate.
I know, it's it's an interesting hill to die on.
I know.
I'm not saying it's good or bad, but it's an interesting.
Did you say an interesting hill to thrive on?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's what
okay. You heard me exactly correct. I think the only guy to add, I mean, I already mentioned the game by game, but I think Hayden Hurst will be owned by no one. He's still in that offense. It's going to be throwing. And then, I don't know. I mean, Bills, are you going to play no Robert Tonyan or just no Robert Tonyan in cash?
Nah, I'm not playing Bob Tonyan. I will say, you just called me out for dying on.
Bales just descended into complete darkness. I literally can't see his face. I can't even see him.
Yeah,
I know.
I changed my tab and I just went completely black. But you are coming at me for dying on the Cameron Brate hill when you're sitting there with Hayden Hurst. I mean, yours isn't much better.
I bet Hurst outscores Brate this week for sure. That's not even close.
Do we want to do point per dollar?
Sure.
All right, I'm in. We'll come up with some kind of bet after this.
Oh, I like this. I like when I'm not involved in this and I can just spectate from the side. This is good.
Can't wait till Brady catches like 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, he's gonna do what Tonyan did the other night, multi-touchdowns. But thank you guys very much for tuning in. Be sure to give us a thumbs up on YouTube. Comment your guys' favorite plays of the week. Like I said, be sure to check out all of our free content at dfskarma.com. And look at our packages. I mean, our weekly package, anyone that had the weekly package last week paid it off. I got the 6-0 on FanDuel personally, or 5-0, going for 6-0 this week, which would be huge. But thank you guys for watching. And I don't know if I'll be on the Pivot Pod this week. So the next time I may see you guys is on the Sunday morning stream. So if you need anything else, you can always find us in Discord or on Twitter. And we'll see you guys next time.